Hey ladies and gents, welcome to Play It Private, a segment on this channel where we look at the gray area of MMOs known as private servers. I want to give a quick word of warning to my audience. Private servers are hosted by fans like you and me that want to keep a sunsetted MMORPG alive, whether it's because the game is no longer playable or because the game has changed so much that it's no longer the game a certain audience may want to play. Bearing that in mind, a lot of times these type of games can come and go in the blink of an eye due to certain circumstances that are usually out of the fans' control. Play the games in these series with that in mind, but always remember that these games will never die in our hearts. Anyways, let's get on with the video. As you may know, MapleStory has a very special place in my gaming history. I made a whole video about it. That's how much I love this game, if you want to go check that out, by the way. You know, just as a little plug. In that video, though, I specifically say that the current version of MapleStory is essentially no longer the game that feels familiar to me. Everything seems to have shifted to a more single-player approach, with less emphasis on community and making friends. I suppose as I grew older, maybe I just grew out of the game, but I beg to differ. MapleLegends is a nostalgic emulated version of MapleStory that brings the game back to its old hardcore roots, and I gotta say, when I play it, I still get hooked like I used to back in the day. Legends is a version 62 server that hosts some custom changes like most MapleStory private servers do. Currently, it sits around the number 1 or number 2 spots for the most populated server available to play. It usually hovers around 1,500 to 2,500 players concurrently, depending on events or current updates. Legends captures a good balance between content that was universally liked between old school players and slight changes that give a sense of accomplishment like custom equipment. It's also probably one of the more stable servers out there, being able to stay online for days without issues, and believe it or not, just about all crashes and glitches are fixed here that usually plague those private servers. Now don't get me wrong, not everything here is perfect, however, which I'll cover. With this video, I'll be covering over what Legends has to offer as an old school hardcore MapleStory server, and why you may want to give Legends a shot. Also, as a quick side note, most of the information in this video will be assuming that you have played MapleStory, since I'm giving an overview of the server rather than the game. I highly recommend watching my Dead or Alive video on MapleStory if you'd like to know more about the history of the game. Anyways, let's get on with the review. MapleLegends, as I stated before, bounds its roots into MapleStory's more universally liked version, known as version 62. Version 62 had notable features such as the Pirate class, 4th job advancement, Crimsonwood Keep, Showa Town, and the Horntail boss, among a ton of other nostalgic experiences. Let's break down some of the features within Legends that makes it a bit different though. First, old school MapleStory had a very steep, slow leveling curve. Most veterans such as myself remember having to grind for hours and hours just to level up maybe a few times. Legends has a ×2 experience curve, essentially having double experience active at all times. Drop rates in Legends are still the standard ×1 with some tweaks to quest drops, but honestly drop rates are fine the way they were anyways. Something that Legends actually introduced into the community though is quest experience rates. On Legends, quests give the ×3 normal experience reward, meaning that questing is actually very encouraged. Now, whether or not that actually makes questing worth it though, well, we will get to that. Legends also has some class balancing, slight HD scaling on certain maps, areas from later versions such as Temple of Time, areas from regions that global MapleStory never got such as Coketown, a more expanded endgame with the bosses from Neo Tokyo, custom rewards to help with HP scaling, an expanded cash shop offering items from later versions, a fully functional working monster book system, and a few small quality of life features that are unique to this server. Because Legends is running on the old v62 source code, however, they are semi-held back in some of the custom edits that they can make. For instance, more popular updates such as the Mulung Dojo or equipment like medals and belts are currently not possible to implement, at least until someone potentially finds a way to get them. Now, even though Legends does fix specific bugs and glitches that plagued the game back in that version, they have also seemed to be quite strict on the policy of maintaining maintaining a classic hardcore experience. So unfortunately with that comes gameplay oddities that are a bit controversial. If you are within the MapleStory community, you probably know the two oddities I'm about to talk about: HP washing and leeching. HP washing is a quote-unquote feature that existed in old school MapleStory that has been highly criticized for being incredibly time-consuming but rewarding since you can build the perfect character. Essentially, players will dump stat points into intelligence to gain extra MP, which can then be swapped for HP. This trick allows you to gain more HP upon leveling up versus someone who doesn't HP wash. I'm not going to explain in detail how to HP wash, but just note that if you aren't doing it, your character is debatably less viable than someone else's who is, and don't even get me started on MP washing. A second oddity would be leeching, a method of gaining experience points while another player grinds enemies. Leeching essentially encourages less actual playtime from users, since you can just pay someone to level your character for you rather than doing content like quests or party quests. Both HP washing and leeching are virtually untouched in Legends, with HP washing having some slight alleviation in equipment you can earn in-game. Don't let those two things deter you from trying the game though, especially if you are not overly familiar with the game from back in the day, as realistically, if you are trying to play MapleStory for the old school experience, those won't ruin your time with Legends anyways. In terms of gameplay on Legends, well, it's probably the closest to what old school MapleStory would be like if it was hosted today. Character creation still has you rolling stats, leveling is still pretty grindy, gear is very dependent on your success with scrolling equipment for extra parameters like extra weapon attack or stats, and your party quests are still very rewarding, like getting the broken glasses from the looty party quests. Overall, if you love the way MapleStory used to play, then you will absolutely love MapleLegends, since compared to other servers, it mimics that feeling of nostalgia the most, for better or for worse. For instance, quests, as I mentioned before, are encouraged in Legends, but haven't really been changed to offer rewards that are worth the player's time. Many quests still offer useless rewards for collecting or defeating way more enemies than what it's worth, making custom quest experience sort of a waste here for most players, which is a shame considering the development team took the time to fix a lot of the quests that didn't work properly. Luckily, even with some minor missteps in design, Legends is still a very fun experience gameplay-wise. Economy-wise, Legends has a very stable economy within the community, thankfully, meaning that currency hasn't crashed like it has in other servers. Mesos, which are MapleStory's currency, is still valuable and relatively easy to accumulate once you become accustomed to the server, with items like equipment and scrolls being very obtainable with a bit of effort. The Legends community is also relatively friendly and healthy, having a plethora of guides and YouTube videos available for those who are interested in getting help or just wanting to become a part of the community. The Legends Discord is something I definitely recommend joining, since players there are more willing to answer questions or genuinely respond as fast as possible, with an alternative being the MapleLegends forums, where you can post threads asking for help or post in the shout board where players will answer you pretty quickly. Lastly, let's talk about voting. Voting is a feature that these servers implement to allow players to earn cosmetic items that would normally require a cash shop to acquire. Since these servers are hosted by fans, instead, if you vote for the server which promotes the game, you earn the cash shop currency that way for free, which allows you to earn cosmetics and other goodies that will help you customize your character. Thankfully, this makes pretty much all these servers completely free to play essentially forever, so if you were looking for that true old school nostalgic MapleStory, Legends is right up your alley with literally no costs to worry about. Now, there is a donation section where you can donate to the server to help upkeep costs, and you are granted currency to a donor section in the cash shop, but everything is still completely cosmetic, so it is completely up to you if you choose to support the server. With all that I have talked about in this video, if you are truly interested in checking out MapleLegends, I highly recommend you read the game's terms of service on the forums. Everything you need to know about the game's rules, policies, and features can all be found there, especially some of the stuff I might have missed. Things like multi-accounts, further information on how voting works, community guidelines, and the server's goals and aspirations can all be read here, so it's something you should read if you plan to spend time on the game. Either way, if you are new to MapleStory or a veteran to the game, Legends is a solid server to jump into and play, and with the game being completely free to play in every single aspect, it may be worth at least taking a look at. Hey everyone, that is my short overview of Maple Legends. If you currently play Maple Legends or plan to give it a shot, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll also put the site in the description for anyone who wants to check it out. If you like content like this and want to see more, please consider giving the video a thumbs up, as well as potentially subscribing to the channel. Any help is greatly appreciated. I also have my social media links down below, like Twitter and Discord, if you want to follow me on those sites. As always, I want to thank everyone who watched the video, and I will see you in the next one. Later!